Alright, so today we're going to talk about, are betting tipsters worth it? So for anyone who's new, a betting tipster is someone that tells you what to bet on. Now, they won't win every bet, but in the long run, they should be profitable. I'll make a separate video about red flags when it comes to tipsters, but for this video, let's look at how we can find good, reliable, proven ones. So a great place to start to research tipsters is on this website called Honest Betting Reviews, where they review a number of tipsters across a range of sports and assess whether they are any good or not. So if we look at the tabs at the top, we can see their current reviews and who's ongoing at the moment. If you want, you can have a click on any of these and see how they are doing so far. So click on a random one. We have Goal Predictor. At the moment for 21st of November, they're down 15 points, which is not overly encouraging, especially as they have been doing this for actually quite a while. So when we look back, they started this a year ago, and a whole year later, they've not even seen a profit. So again, from that current one, that's not looking too good for them. So obviously there you can look at current reviews and see what's going well, what's not, what you might want to jump in with. On this tab here, we looked at failed systems, and obviously these are all the systems which they concluded were not quite good enough. So again, this is quite a long list, to be fair. We don't need to go through them all, but if you want, you can click on it and you can read their review of how things went and their progress throughout the time. Next tab here that can be worth looking at is neutral betting systems. So these ones generally did okay, nothing too bad, nothing maybe worth raving about. Again, some of these they can be worth looking at for sports that you're interested in, just to see what you think and if there's any potential value from them. Now, the main one is winning systems. When we click on this, it breaks it down by sport quite nicely for us. This list, unfortunately, isn't quite as long as the other two, but there is plenty of horse racing ones, a couple of football, a couple of golf, and a couple of tennis as well. So from here, what you can do, again, you just click on it and you can see how they did. So from here, you can see their statistics from their trial and you can decide whether it's potentially for you or not. In my opinion, with this being a third party site reviewing people, they don't really have any incentive to say one's good or bad. They're kind of just doing things purely based on results, which I think is quite a fair thing for us to look at. So if you've seen a tipster online and you want to have a quick check of them, you can always see if they're on here first to see if they've been reviewed. Now, another site I like to look at tipsters for is bettingodds.com. So the reason why I like this one is because the tipsters through here, they go through a 4-month trial usually. If they're good enough, they will get listed and you can view all of their past bets to verify their history. But there is a small warning with this. You will notice if we go on the honest betting reviews and to the failed system, some of the failed systems have come from betting gods. So typically, I would say it's best to go with the tipsters on betting gods who have really good long-term data, whether that's a lot of betting volume or they've been on the site for a number of years. They're going to be your most reliable tipsters. The ones that are new, it's worth checking out to see what you think, but do bear in mind there's not as much data as some of the others, and they could end up in this failed pile if you're not careful. So just a heads up there, things aren't always perfect. So moving on to my personal approach when choosing to follow a tipster, I like to avoid tipsters who have just had recent big wins. The reason for this is because it's actually quite rare. They won't get big wins every day, every week, or every month. All tipsters will go through good phases and bad phases, and I like to back a tipster and follow their bets when they have been through some really bad variance. I think of it like a Bitcoin chart. You don't want to buy Bitcoin when the price is at the very top. You want to buy the dip when the price is massively discounted for you, and then you can ride the profits up in the near future. A similar way as well, I think of it as a Bitcoin chart, is the sharper the initial price action and the profit, then either the sharper the following drop will be, or the longer, painful sideways action of profit where it's a grind of barely break even, some losses, some tiny wins. The bigger the initial win, the longer that sideways action has to go on for before you can have your next leg up in profit. So just for a quick glance, we can go on Betting Gods and we can see their tipster leaderboard. So if I look at last month, I don't see the biggest winners. I want to see who lost the most. So last month there would have been Racing Rundown, and we can already see they have quickly rebounded quite nicely for this month. So taking these as an example, they've been on the site for 3+ years. So we're going to have some really good data here. They do 13, 16 bets a week, which is not too bad. Now, when you can see by the profit chart, like I say, they're not going to win every month, and neither is every single tipster. So this is a really normal chart to see. But you want to be buying the action generally when it's down here, riding these up and getting out. You know, if you bought in here at the hype, then you would have experienced this painful action for the next few months. And you still wouldn't have broken even after all that time. It would have taken a really long time to get back there. So, like I say, buy the dip on these things. Now, how do we know when to buy the dip? What you can do is you can go to view results here. This loads up their profit and loss sheet and all their previous bets. So just to have a quick look here, I keep an eye on the drawdown. So just to save you a bit of time, I'm going to have a quick scan through their history of their drawdown, and I want to see what's their biggest ever drawdown being from their all-time high profit. So having a quick look through this, there were a few times where their drawdown went up to around about 80 or 90 units, which historically would have been a good time to buy in. Now, just like Bitcoin, you're never going to time the bottom perfectly. But if we take this example here, they were down 103 units on the 30th of July 2025. If you'd have bought in around here and then you'd followed all of their bets until they hit a new all-time high, then let's see how long that would have taken us. So from the 30th of July, you've got August, September, and then the first week of October. 100 units at £25 a stake, that would have been 2.5 grand in 9 weeks, just because you bought in at a sensible time. So this is my approach to buying into tipsters. I don't want to buy into the hype because typically, if they've had some very hot streaks, in order to balance things out, they have to have some negative variance sometime soon, and you don't want to be betting into that. You want to be betting after they've just experienced their terrible variance so you can ride their profits up nicely in the short term future. The more volume they have, then the more reliable the data is. This guy's tipster service has been available for over 3 years with thousands of bets recorded here, so we have plenty of data to go off, and we know that roughly, say maybe if he's down 80, 90 units or 100 if we notice it, that historically has been a very good time to buy in. And again, my approach, once they reach an all-time high, I will stop with the service and I'll look to see if there's anyone else who's going through bad variance. And I'll allow these to just play out as normal and wait for the next time that they go through some terrible variance. Bear in mind, these things won't happen overnight. It could be another year or so until I decide to buy into this service again. So to summarize, when it comes to tipsters, yes, they are very much worth it if you can find good ones. To begin with, we used honest betting reviews to explore who is verified as a winning tipster. Another site is also Betting Gods, where we can look at their long-term records with good sample sizes and decide to buy in on the dips. I typically avoid joining in right after some huge wins or winning streaks, and instead I like to join during the natural losing periods where they go through some really hard negative variance, which happens to all tipsters. If you can buy in at the bottom, you ride the profits up really nicely in a relatively short space of time. And remember, no tipster will win every bet. The good ones are not picking winners, they're picking who's got odds higher than they should do. And the losing runs are normal. So if you bought in at the lows, as we've just shown, some of the losing runs, they may continue for a little bit, but if you stick with them, then you will be fine in the long run. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, then give it a like. There'll be links to everything below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.